Thank you for joining me. My name is Vanessa. I'm your host in this parent panel, and we will be discussing and talking on a subject of the educational system and how we are, working side on side with the educational system, and also what we've experienced as parents. So we have Tara here as well. She's also a working mum and has an adult warrior. We have Betty. She has a young baby girl. We have Oleander. She has a teenager. And we have Angela, who also is a guest with us today, working mum, and she has also a teenager. So thank you girls for joining. So excellent. The first question I wanted to bring forward to you guys, and this is like open to whoever wants to take the stage first, is it's quite a big chunk, this one. So it's through like the journey of your child from the moment they've gone into the educational system. So that could just be even child-minded as well. I wanted to know for you, what has been, the big learning curve in terms of the support for your child? And that answer I want you to give is to that question. However, I also want you to add one thing that was done really, really well, or you found that was really positive in the caring of your child through the educational system in terms of their education and just that child minding service. And one thing that you feel that needs to be like worked on or needs to be better. So who wants to take the mic? Well, everyone else is jumping up. I'm going to pick one. So, Tara, how about you? Because I understand you have a young adult now, so she's gone through more or less all of the steps in the educational system. For you, what was the one thing that you learned quite easily or quite sudden in terms of the support that was given to your child who has, in the educational system and with the condition?
It's been so long ago, but the only thing that stands out at the moment is the care plan. I don't think we had it put in the beginning, but at some point a care plan was put in place. And that, if I remember correctly, it was just as she was about to finish primary.
Right.
So she took that with her to secondary. So for me, that is a good thing in a way that, say if they're not able to contact a parent or whatever, they've got that plan in place, and it's almost like a breakdown of what's going on, what support, what medicines, and I don't know if everyone's got the same. I'm hoping it's called the care plan. I think that's what it is.
Yeah.
And it's a document of everything about the child that the school has. So that for me, even though we didn't have it in the beginning, at some point it kicked in and it worked all the way through secondary school, and we kind of just had it updated, and we have like meetings. I can't remember how often, but we would have meetings, and if anything's changed, we would have it amended or brought up to date. So that for me was it was a really good thing.
And in that process, do you feel that there was something that you could have wished that was provided or was much more clearer in terms of a better experience? For example, once your child returned from them being, at home, or, a recall in terms of information, in terms of them connecting with the staff, people in the playground, not just the main teacher. Is there anything that you feel would have made it much more easier for your child or yourself in terms of getting them back on track, in terms of committing to the workload and so on and learning?
Again, it's not something that I can think of off the top of my head, but we would take each day as it comes. When she would be going in, depending on how she was at that point. And sometimes it's not the same teacher all the time, or if it's, for example, lunchtime cover or whatever, they might differ every day. So I think at some point I started like going in and maybe having a word with the teacher, whoever was there at that time, or if I couldn't go in, I would call up and say, Amir is feeling this way today, and When she was younger, I would have to explain it because I didn't know about the care plan then. But after we have that in place, I will always make it a point to say, can we please refer to that? Can we please refer to that? So, yeah, I mean, it wasn't all bad. I'm sure there was some negatives, but I can't think about the top of my head. But once that care plan was in place, it worked really well because that almost became like a point of contact. If no one knew or wasn't sure, as soon as you say, please go and look at it, and they read through it, it's almost like they know Amira personally.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
And thank you so much, Tara. And Oleander, what do you take on the your experience, your journey through the education system and supporting your child through the learning?
I would say from the time he went to nursery, actually, was when we first had to start thinking about someone else caring for him and ensuring that he gets any medication that he might need to take. And so, although it wasn't quite the same as a care plan you have in school, they still had things in place. So you had a named person that would look after him. And yeah, and she was good, except, you know, quite often, I'm sure all of you have come across people who are responsible for your child at some stage who've never heard of sickle cell or have no clue about sickle cell. So, you know, we had to bring information to her and discuss with her all the issues and so on. So, you know, that was quite an interesting thing. But when he went to primary school, when it was much more robust in terms of the care, he did have, the Senko actually was quite good. He was able to talk to Amiri in confidence about how he feels and so on. And it was quite good that he was an understanding kind of person. So that was good. I mean, we did have a pretty awful situation, which I'm sure I've shared with Tara and Betty before, where he was in pain at school, and the teacher didn't believe him, and you know, that was a very difficult situation because by the time I got to the school, he ended up straight in hospital. So I think it's not just about whether or not the child has a care plan. You know, it's only as good as the person who is implementing it, really. And I think as your child grows, so for example, Amiri's care plan now looks so different to how it did in primary school, because especially now, because he's not able to do PE, for example, everything looks very different. So I think the care plan is a must for all children with sickle cell, much less other conditions perhaps that are serious as a condition as sickle cell.
Oh, fantastic. And Angela, how about you, in your experience and your take on, you know, what you feel has gone well for you or helped you and helped your daughter through the educational system, and perhaps something that can be worked on and done better?
Well, she was with a childminder and then nursery, so it was implemented. The childminder was great and she was very understanding. Fortunately, Mesa wasn't experiencing any kind of crisis or anything like that, so there was no symptoms coming up, but it was just implementing that things could happen. When we got to primary school, care plan was put in place, but that was with a school nurse. So we would sit down with a school nurse, go over the care plan, go over the medication, had medication in the office. So if she needed to get her paracetamol or ibuprofen, that would be there. And we went through to secondary school, which has been great as well. So I found through primary school and secondary school, it's been up and down in the primary school, but secondary school has been very, very good, straight on it. As soon as I say this needs to happen or this needs to change, they've been like, no problem, this will happen. So for instance, she's now doing A levels, but while primary school and secondary school, the last couple of years, she would find it really difficult to get up in the morning and get out in time for school, which would be 8:28, something like that. So then she would be caught in that trap of she's going to get detention because she's coming in late. But we was able to discuss with the teachers that, look, she's going to come in late. This is what's going to happen. And they said, no problem, she'll be exempt from detention. And any extra help she needed from the teachers, they were really helpful. I had all their emails, so that wasn't a problem either. I think primary school, going back to primary school, it was just like the previous lady said, that Oleander said, that it was just having to educate not only just the teachers, but all the other people that were dealing with them as there. And that was the thing, having to come in and explain about sickle cell when a lot of them didn't know anything about sickle cell. What sickle cell? Well, she looks well. She's standing in front of us. She's not in any, but you need to do this, you need to know, but she looks well. So that was a difficult thing, that walking around, she's fine, you know, but that was the difficult bit in primary school, but secondary school was great. It's not been a problem.
Okay. All right, and Betty, so I understand, is your little one in nursery at this time?
She just started reception this
All
September.
right. So you're fresh on the boat.
Yeah, but she started to go to nursery when she was around 8 months.
Okay.
Yeah, because I had to go back to work, and I just thought life has to go on. So like everyone is saying, she had a care plan since in nursery. She had a key person. The sickle cell nurse came into the school nursery to inform them about sickle cell, and had like a training on with them, which was very good. At that time as well, I was also, you know, when you settle your child into the nursery, so I was also in there with them, kind of telling them about it and how I'm anxious, but they were very caring and loving towards her. And I feel as though that helped like the team know that yes, one day she's fine, the next day she might not be fine. And they got to see that, because she then started to, you know, catch the common cold and flu that would end us into hospital, and she wouldn't be in nursery for like a week or 2 weeks, and that, how is she still doing? Is she this? Is she that? So they kind of got to see firsthand what it means to have a child with sickle cell. 1 minute they're fine, they look like everyone else, but any little thing, any infection that they can get can lead to something else.
Right.
So that happened. And one thing at the school that I think they could do better is like have a medical board for me, because it's true, sometimes different people come into the setting, or, you know, to cover people, and like I'll tell my daughter that, okay, you know, you're not supposed to go outside in the rain and stuff, or when you do go outside, make sure you have your coat on. So she would go and get it or have it on, and other people be like, why does she have her coat on, this and that. And so if you had a medical board where people know, oh, this child has a medical condition, so if they're doing something out of the normal, it's because of that medical condition, instead of like having to hide away. And the other thing that I realized about the school was like they had their coats and bags outside. Like at first we didn't think nothing off of it, but later on, like my partner, when he used to pick her up, like she's got cold hands, she's getting a cold. She always, when I pick her up, she's shivering. So I was like, what could this be? So then I was like, no, now on she has to have her coat and bag inside, because obviously when she's going outside without a coat or a coat on, to go and get a cold coat to put on. So, you know, so it was like, although there's a care plan in place, you also have to really review the activities that happen and kind of let them know, and then continue to update it.
Absolutely, because I would say that, for example, with my son, his school do not allow outside coats, so it's just a blazer, and we were like, I don't think so. He needs to have an outside coat. So what they allowed is that at the front reception area, he can leave his coat there during the day, and you know, that's making reasonable adjustments so that he has his coat. And also he doesn't have to go outside when it's raining,
Right.
or snowing, or it's exceptionally cold. And so that's really good for us. And if it's really, really cold, he can actually keep his coat with him for the whole day. You know, but it is about making reasonable adjustments. The same thing as well with the issue of his spine. They've agreed that he can have a bag which is a pull-along bag with wheels, so he doesn't have to have this heavy rucksack on his back. And this is all because, you know, parents have to fight for these things. The school are going to do the bare minimum if they can get away with it, let's face it. We as parents and carers have to fight for our children. It shouldn't be that way. We shouldn't have to be, you know, fighting, but we really absolutely do. And it's one of the reasons why I had to give up full-time work, because there's just every minute there's just too many things going on that I had to deal with. You know, and so when myself and his father just agreed, yeah, I would just go part-time, it was something which made a massive difference. Now, don't get me wrong, of course, not all parents can go part-time. A lot of parents have to continue to work. But having said that, the cost of childcare is horrendous. You know, I don't even know how people do it. I mean, it's mortgage money, isn't it? So, so yeah, it's really, really, really difficult. But if you're lucky enough to have the support of the school, but also support of other family members, maybe to go and pick your child up for you from school, it makes all the difference. It really, really does.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you guys. In general, in terms of my experience, I found out that, you know, through the primary school, during like the reception year one, it was pretty good sailing, because they're very young, they're very little. When my child got to like 8, 9, 10, we had to have that sit down with that teacher whereby, you know, there was issues about him wanting to go toilet, because there was a point where he came home and was saying that how my teacher's not letting me go toilet when I need to go toilet. You know, he obviously, we made it sure that he had a bottle on the desk. He was the only person that had to have a bottle, but he had to have a cap lid, not the spinning one, just in case it wasn't tightened properly, but the cap lid. But I made sure that he had his bottle of water in the classroom in primary school. Even if no other kids had it, I said he has to have it. But I think they have it now where they can bring their own bottles anyway. But he was allowed to have it on the desk. Sometimes they have to put it in the corner or something like that. So there was a few exceptions. But I think one incident was basically him asking to go to the toilet. The teacher was just, I guess, I'm not sure if he played on it or not, because you know the kids, doesn't it? But I wasn't tolerating that. Even if my son's playing on it, that's not the point. The point is, if he says so, that's then you just got to deal with it. Do you know what I mean? So I had to be really put my foot down on that. And actually, he ended up getting one of those necklaces, which allowed him to go around the building regardless. It's just symbolized that he had permission to be out of the classroom. So that was one thing that I had to encounter, and that was a strong thing for me. And they adjusted to it. So again, if there's something that you feel your child is, again, you know, needs to do or go through or needs to make changes, definitely be very outspoken, because like we've all said, that, you know, they will perhaps do the bare minimum and they don't know as much as, you know, they should know or need to know. And again, you know how everyone is different, and certain things might be different for your child accordingly. So thank you guys for sharing that. That was awesome. My next question, these are going to get deeper as we go along, by the way, so just giving you a heads up.
Okay.
So, the next question I wanted to ask you guys was, what was it like for you delivering school work? So delivering school work while your child was absent from school or unwell or in hospital. My main question to that is, how did you create order or balance during those times? Hands up.
I don't even know if I have a hands up.
Tara, let's go for you first.
Okay.
Yes.
I can't remember a lot of primary, but secondary at some point, hospital visits and work was due, and you know, having to worry about her and the work and whatnot. I think we then had to have something in place whereby so luckily her brother was in the same school, secondary school. So what would either happen is they'll either give him the work to bring to her, or say the work was due on a particular day and she couldn't meet it, they would kind of like put an extension in place for her. I don't know if it was just her, but at least they put something in place where she could take her time. If she could do it, there was no pressure for her to do it. So if she couldn't do it, you know, we just update the diary to say why we couldn't do it. But Amira is not one to give up, as I keep saying. She'd be like, no, I've got to do it. So she might not meet it, because I'm talking about, I don't know, 2 weeks, almost 4 weeks, 2 maybe in the hospital, 1 trying to recuperate at home, and 1, you know, making sure we're all right before we go back on the business. So we had something in place where she had an extension to submit her work, and brother, luckily, if brother wasn't there, it would just be probably one of us, either dad or me, you know, taking the work back and forth. But it worked okay. You know, I have no complaints in that, because the school did, you know, go over and beyond, and
They were flexible.
Credit. Yeah, they were. I thought, yeah.
Angela, how about you?
Primary school was good in that they did set work and we was able to do it. When she was in hospital, they used to have a hospital schoolroom, so she would go there, and that would be classed as a day in school, so she wasn't looked at as being absent. So that was good. We would try at home, myself and her dad, and she has an older sister, that we would help her with anything that she needed to do. That was in primary school. In secondary school, it was, as she got up to the years like 8, 9, 10, that started to get that little bit difficult. I did have a good communication with the teachers, but it seemed to be, when you come into GCSEs, there's always that extra bits and pieces that you've got to keep up with. You know, it was good for her in that she did do it. Was able to do the work and the tasks that were set, but just to keep up with it towards now, she's now doing A-level, so last year would have been year 11. It was starting to get that bit difficult, because last year she had quite a few serious crises where she's ended up in ICU and all the rest. So it was quite difficult, because obviously when you come out of hospital, it's not like you're still recovering and having to get your breath back from that. So she did find that a bit difficult and a little bit stressful, and you try to see if they could do extra work. And I think also they did have after school sessions, so she would attend those ones. So after school on Monday would be maths, after school Wednesday would be history, so she would do those extra lessons. And at the same time she was also doing piano lesson as well, so she was having to do a lot of balancing. Kudos to her, she did it really well. I don't know if it was me, I don't know what would happen at all. I'd be like, I don't know, but she kept up with it, and it went well as far as I could see. But at home was important that we made sure the environment was correct and helpful for her. So her big sister had already been helping her. I would do my best as well, and her dad also, when it came to sciences and maths, would be to help her with that as well. So it's a struggle, but you do it. You just plow on. You don't really think too hard. You just get on with it and do the best that you can.
Did any of you guys do extra intuition for your child at all? Where, like, if you had a long period that was off and you just felt, you know, because I feel, you know, I think in primary school they have a little examination in year 5 or year 6 or something like that. I can't remember what you call it, SATs and all of that jazz. And then
SATs.
The other, like, did anyone, or even in secondary school, did anyone get extra intuition at all? Oleander, what about you? Did you?
Do you mean extra tuition?
Yeah, extra,
Yeah.
out of the normal public or private school.
Well, actually, we approached the Hackney Learning Trust,
Okay.
and for a few years battled to try and get some extra tuition for him, and they actually agreed, and he got about, I think it was about 11 weeks of
Wow.
I think it was just English and maths though, so it wasn't all of the subjects, but it did make a difference, and it did help, because he's missed so much of school. It's just been, yeah, it's been a struggle, and he's in year 11 right now, and so next year we'll be doing his GCSEs.
Right.
We have been successful in getting an EHCP plan for him.
Can you explain what that is?
Educational health care plan.
Yeah.
Educational health care plan.
Yeah, which mainly really goes for children who have either learning difficulties or autism or ADHD or something like that. None of which he has, but what he does have is, well, as all our children have, is a condition which keeps him out of school for so many sessions, so many lessons. And because his attendance went down so badly, and they realized that actually, things have to, and over the last 2 years, he's been diagnosed with his spinal issue, as well as now having retinopathy. So they can see that there's a kind of a trend in terms of his health, which is not actually getting, it's going downhill really. And so they agreed, which, I was really happy to get, because a lot of people who I know, they've had to go to appeal to get it. So this is going to help with tuition, with someone to scribe if he's got pain in his arm, for example, he can't write. It's going to help with a proper chair or a cushion hurting too much. Well, not more than it normally does, and just other things that are going to be put in place for him, which is really, really important. So if you see your child is not, their attendance is going down, it's definitely worth putting in an application for an EHCP, because it will follow your child until they're 25 years old, and that actually comes along with money. Not that that money is the thing, but it will pay for certain things for your child. So as they go through the education system into college and then into university, it will absolutely help them. So yeah, it's definitely worth doing.
Okay. All right. So I've also noticed that we've got an additional parent on the panel. I'd like to introduce you to Shemia. She has a child who has sickle cell, who is in primary years. So just want to welcome, can you just take the mic off, introduce yourself, say hi to the team.
Hi everyone, my name's Shemia. So my son's actually gone into secondary school now.
Oh yeah, that's it.
Yeah. So I'm finding that as he's getting older, his sickle cell crisis have gotten a lot less. I think also with him understanding his body and how he works, he's learning to not overexert himself as well. So because he's quite vocal with like how he feels, what's going on with his body, I feel like we're on a path where we can get to things a lot quicker than we used to be able to when he was younger and his communication wasn't quite there. Now going into secondary school, it's a little bit different from primary school. I feel like the primary school, they knew him. He's quite an outspoken person. He is quite a big character as well. So all of the teachers quite knew him in primary school and were aware of everything that went on with him and his sickle cell and crisis and hospital admissions. So now he's in secondary school. The new challenges are that we've got so much different teachers that I'm speaking to. I mean, they have a well-being officer person who regularly communicates with me, but the new issues that I'm facing is PE. So my son's very competitive. So far, every PE session, they've had to call me to say he's overdone it. He's now out of breath. He's now in pain. So yeah, so we've got new challenges. So this is what, 3 weeks in, and I've had a call every single week when PE has been on to say something. Wow.
So I was just going to say, Shem, that just that, because that's exactly how my son's spine condition started. So just watch that and be careful, because it's boys are yeah, like you say. He was very competitive as well. When they were doing, I forgot what they call it, where they run from one side to the other.
Bleep test?
Pardon?
Is it the bleep test?
Yeah, maybe, yeah. And he refused to stop, even though he remembered that he should. But he said, I remember once he said he felt this shooting pain in his back, but he decided he wouldn't stop. And so continued, and it wasn't until the end that the pain kicked in. So yeah, it's important to acknowledge, yes, your son knows his body and he's getting better as he gets older, but please don't just assume that that is the case, because it can be a bit of a roller coaster ride with health, with sickle cell.
Yeah.
You know, because all children, I think, all people rather, with sickle cell have these peaks and troughs with their condition. And I know this very well because, as I said to everybody before, my mum also has sickle cell. And so as an adult, I can see how it affected her. And sometimes she would go a long time with no pain, you know, well, not no pain, but you know what I mean? Just like very much reduced amount. And then other times it would increase exponentially. So yeah, just kind of watch him at that kind of age when the body is stretching and moving and all that. Yeah.
Yeah, when I say he knows his body, I mean he knows when when a pain's coming on.
Yeah.
So I find with him, like, he's not pain free, so he does have pain. I say it's manageable, meaning that it's not been as bad as he's needed hospital admission for 2 and 3 weeks and things like that. We're able to manage it at home, and he's able to know his body, know it well enough that he can say, Mum, like, I'm in this amount of pain. So then it's that explanation to me to know that, okay, this is either an admission type of pain that he's feeling or just something that we can manage at home.
Yeah.
Which when he was and you're the parent trying to determine that, that's a little bit hard, because it's like you're looking at it as, well, how serious is serious? Do you know what I mean? What is the time that I actually need to go into, the time that I need to stay at home? So him being able to know his body a bit more just helps me to know how to then deal with that. Yeah,
what action to take.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Well, seeing as we've got you on, Shemia, we're going to kickstart with you the next question. I've got, how do you help your child to relieve their stress levels, or what do you teach them in order to help them relieve any stresses concerning, even obviously it's a couple of weeks now, so secondary school, I'm sure he's not got too much stress, if anything, with homework or anything like that, but I guess you could have reference to primary school where we're doing homeworks or even activities or plays, any play, you know, they used to do play stages and stuff like that. Is there anything that comes to mind in terms of how you directly help him in terms of relieving any stress that he may feel, or how you tell him to help himself, perhaps?
Yeah, so with Jeremiah, so with Jeremiah, it's more, I've always taught him to be very free and outspoken, as long as he's not rude or you know, he's not offending somebody purposely, then I feel like it's very important for him to be able to express himself, because a lot of the time a lot of his stress and frustration comes from feeling like he's not normal, like he's not like his peers, feeling different. So I don't find that he gets much stress with work, because he is able to ask questions or speak to teachers openly when he does feel that he doesn't know a particular subject. Like lockdown, when he was getting frustrated with the work, he was asking his teacher to say, look, I don't understand this, to explain it. But I feel like kids are more the social aspect where he gets stressed. He wants to do things that friends want to do. And, you know, he is different. I have to explain, but different. So in terms of just like dealing with it, I just try to get him to speak about it, and what is bothering him, why is it bothering him?
Speak up a bit more, be more spoken, so he can express himself, let it out verbally.
Yeah, because I feel like if it feels like, you know, nobody understands him, can't express himself, then that's going to create a different type of stress that I probably won't be able to help him with, or anybody will be able to help him with. I don't know if anyone here knows, but my son and Vanessa are very close. They're very close in age, and they are best friends. So him having Micah as a best friend also helps him, because he knows that there's somebody who understands what he's going through. He feels like sometimes I don't understand because I don't have sickle cell, but because he has somebody who's close to him, and they have conversations that maybe me and Vanessa don't realize that they have, it's like he feels that comfort is there. As he gets older, I know that will change. I know his worries will probably change as well, but I feel like that will be another hurdle that I would have to get through with him when he gets to that age, and his understanding is a bit different to what it is now.
Okay, thank you. Angela, is Angela still here? Angela, what about you in terms of, you know, one thing for me, was there anything in particular that you could identify? This is to you, Angela. Is there anything that you could particularly identify, like you knew when your daughter was just about to peak stress and just be, you know, anxious, anxiety? Was there anything that for you that kind of you was able to identify? And then once you've told us that, in terms of what did you do to help her, relieve her, and support her?
I found in primary school, she found it extremely difficult in primary school because nobody else was like her, and she would miss school, with misunderstandings with other friends in the school. So she would come home upset, you know, not happy. So a lot of the time when she came back, that's why I always made sure I was at home for her, just to talk to her, let her express herself, let her say what it is that she felt was happening, and really just play with her really at primary school. As she got to secondary school, the same kind of stresses were there, but I think by then she became a lot more assertive and a little bit more confident about herself, about what she wanted to do. And I think it was a kind of a family effort between myself, her sister and her dad, to instill that, look, we're family, we are here for you, no matter what's happening at school or with your friends, whatever's happening there, we are here. So if it's 2 o'clock in the morning, or if it's 3 o'clock in the afternoon, we're here, talk to us and we can help you. Just doing activities that she enjoyed doing as well. She likes to draw, she likes to paint, she plays the piano. So encouraging her in that endeavour was also something that's kind of helped her to kind of get through it. But it was a struggle, and it was difficult because there was many times when she'd come back from school upset and, you know, down, and that bit was difficult, just to try and lift her up from that. That kind of, because obviously I don't know what she's experiencing in the sense of the pains and missing school and you know, connection with friends. So that bit was what I found, you know, with the stress, just saying we're here. That's it. If you need us, whatever it is, whatever you feel you want to do, any activities you want to explore, we're here, we'll do it. And that's not a problem. But not having somebody who was experiencing the same as her was the bit that was hard. When later on we started to do sickle cell activities, she would meet other kids and stuff like that. And she also went on the children's activities holiday. And she found that helpful because she found girls her age who are going through the same thing. They're all in the same boat. So that was great. And that's what I wanted for her. So yeah, basically that's how we went through it. And so now she's a little bit more assertive and confident, and she doesn't allow that to bring her down at all.
Oh, thank you, Angela. Is there anyone else that would like to share on that question?
Yes, yeah, I think the ladies have said it all. I think it's important that because my family, I think it was only Amira, and at some point she did question, I don't know if we spoke about this before, why was it just her, you know, why was she the only one in hospital and whatnot? And it was just showing, you know, that we care and we support, and everyone, you know, was there, you know, her little brother, the middle one, we all kind of rallied around her. She had the whys and whatnot, she had the tantrums, and, you know, as all teenagers do at that point. But it's just showing her, you know, a lot of them they don't like the word special, but I try to say to her, you know, you are in your own way, and please don't feel you have to prove a point to anyone, because the only person who can look out for you, I know your parents are there, is you. And if you don't speak up and tell somebody or let that person know what's going on, they're just going to assume. With things like PE, with running around outside in the cold and all of that. And maybe when they were younger, they might not have a voice of their own, and it would have to be the parent who's doing the talking. But at some point, we have to hand over the control to them and say, look, you need to start doing it, because I was doing a lot of it, and Amira picked me up at some point. I think just when she turned 16, she was like, you're always speaking for me at the meetings, you never let me speak, and da-da-da. So, okay, this is moment for mom to get back and let her, you know, take control of it. And I let her do it. And as I said before in the previous meeting, is if she wants a moment to do her thing and talk about, I'll let her. And then there's moments where she's probably had enough and she just keeps quiet, and then I jump in. So we have our little thing in place. So it's a mixture, you know, it's up and downs. It's not plain sailing, I'll tell you that. Even though I know she's in uni, it's not, trust me. Because when she calls me, I'm going hospital, even though I'm here and she's there, I'm just thinking, oh, but yeah, she handles it well. So yeah.
Well, thank you. All right, so the next question is something for, I guess, only a few of you guys, because this is kind of further down. It's just specific to examinations, because I understand that even me, I just have sickle cell trait. I knew when I was going for exams, my head was buzzing. So for me, I'm asking you ladies, what was the mindset you taught your child in order to meet the work in education? So obviously the revision, scheduling, all the revision, all that, and pretty much I've kind of understood that your children was very like, doing the work was not really an issue per se. So, you know, just if that's something, again, just say that that's fine. And to follow on that would be, what would you have done differently, or what is your one advice you'll give to someone else whose child is, you know, going to do the examinations? Because GCSEs is quite a huge major thing in a lot of families in terms of, you know, the academics. And you've got the whole revision start, you know, the revision, pre-test, and then examination, sitting for hours, because in the test you've got to sit for an hour or so, and that stress level. So could you give any parent a heads up, or just your experience and something that you could do or would do differently, or you felt worked well?
I think.
Okay, Tara, start.
Sorry,
Yeah.
I'm jumping in again. I was gonna say, I don't know if Miss O, you know, you said about the plan. Was it the I can't remember what you called it, the one that Amiri's got, the one he's got now, the enhanced one. Amira got,
EHCP.
yeah, does he get extra time with that? Because Amira got a lot of that. Yeah. So that is one thing I will say is quite important, that extra time. So if they set the example, I don't know what they set the example these days, but an hour, she would probably get an extra 45 minutes or an hour even. And that was quite important. It was quite, so that she knew, you know what, you don't have to rush. You've got this. And she had, because she's got a hearing impairment as well, she got the one where somebody, it's something to do with oral, where they read it. They read it and she can not just read it, but almost like somebody's, is it interpreting? I don't know what you call it for her, because it's one thing for a normal person to hear it, but someone who's got a hearing.
Oh yeah, I think there's someone who just basically is able to kind of just explain a little bit, break down that sentence.
Yeah, something like that. So she got a lot of that, and that is one thing that is quite important, that when the time comes to push for that, because it's there. I don't know if they just give it with the plan or you have to ask for it. I don't know, but yeah, that is quite important to get that extra time. And it's not just one subject, it's all of them. So yeah, that is it for me.
Thank you, Sarah.
Just a
Although now, remember, because of the COVID, examinations didn't happen this year, did they? So we don't know what's going to happen next year yet.
Sure.
So that should be interesting.
Sure.
Angela, anything to add to that?
I would add that my daughter was the year 11 that didn't do their GCSE exams, didn't sit it, but she did have mocks, and that was a little bit difficult because she only just came out of hospital with a very, very, very serious crisis. But I spoke with her year head, so she's not on a educational school care plan like the others, but she's just on a school care plan. But if I'd known about that one, I would have put her on it, but I'll look into that one. But we spoke and we were able to come up with a plan where she could get extra time. If she's not well that day, maybe it could be scheduled later on in the day or something like that. So her head of year, who was formerly her form tutor, knew her pretty well and knew and understood her condition, and we did have a plan put together for her exams, and that would have helped her. But yeah, I'm hoping that I can do it now for her A levels as well, so that she can get that extra time if unfortunately she's not feeling well that day or she's not up to par. But I was able to communicate that with her head of year and do something, help her with her exams.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Angela. We did touch on, I remember, Angela, you did say to us about, you know, the school run, or I think it was Tara, one of you guys mentioned the school run. I just want to touch base on that, because I realized that the school run is actually a very critical part of time. It's just, you know, in terms of being late, getting detention, for example, in terms of just the whole rushing, can give someone a headache. Do you know what I mean? So I want to ask you guys, what worked for you specifically? What works for you specifically? So I need a specific thing during school runs, and how did you encourage organization and time management for you, your child, and your family?
I think for me, it was about just making sure that from the night before that he's got his bag ready, his school bag ready, that his uniform is ready, and that he gets up with enough time that he can take his time to get ready rather than rush. And also, fortunately for us, his school is a 6-minute walk away. But having said that, when he's not feeling well, or when it's snowing, or when it's heavy rain, he will be at a snail's pace. But then when we got the car and the blue badge, we were able then to, on a really bad day, I would always drop him right up to the gate. And so he was hardly ever late. The few times that he was late, sometimes it was because he woke up with pain, but not enough pain to stop him going to school, but with enough pain for me to give him medication so that it can work as he's getting ready for school. And quite often it would knock off the big pain enough so that he can still go to school. And that was quite useful. But obviously there will be days when it didn't work and he had to stay home anyway.
Mm. How did you encourage organization in your household? How did you encourage that? Or did you just literally, this is what it is, you've got to make sure you have your backpack? Simple as that.
Oh, yeah, well, yeah.
And time management. It's just a simple thing, yeah. Okay.
I mean, the thing is, I had to help him do it because
even like through the whole eating breakfast, that malarkey, because you know when you're eating, I don't know what you have for breakfast, maybe bowl of cereal, I'm not sure. You know, sometimes they take their time, you know. I mean,
to be honest, he's not really a breakfast person. It's been a battle after a battle after a battle. Even during this pandemic thing, he's like, he might not eat anything until lunchtime. And even then, because he's quite a fussy eater, so, and we don't eat meat as well, so yeah, everything on top of that, it just, you know, takes time. So I think he decided not to eat breakfast because it was just too much to deal with in the morning. He just didn't want to have the complication, I guess. Yeah, and to be honest, he prefers having things like porridge and stuff, which I cook for him. But yeah, this pandemic has just changed a lot of things anyway. So.
Yeah.
Tara, what about you?
Similar. You know, primary schools, I look out my window and I can see the primary school.
Okay.
And secondary school was a bus that I specifically chose the school because I knew the bus would pick them here and drop them here. I wasn't looking at no league table, forgive me ladies, but I was looking at what worked because,
yeah,
you know what I mean? And we were like, the bus to a T, we knew was going to be there at this time, give or take a couple of minutes, and we were there. So up to the point where she decided she wanted me to let go, you know, I was similar, either dropping her if I have to, picking her up. And I don't think a lot of them like breakfast. Amira, oh my God. Oh. You know what? She has her moments, give or take. She'll have days where she'll yum yum yum, and she'll have days where nope. It doesn't matter how tasty that food is. She'll be like nope. So yeah, she wasn't a breakfast eater either. And in terms of organization, same as Miss Osh, you know, pack it the night before, regardless of whether they have sickle cell or not. You have to have that in place, otherwise mornings off. You've already got your stuff to deal with, and then a kid's looking for a shoe or whatever. No, I can't be doing that anyway. So regardless of whether they have sickle or not, that needs to be done. Evening before, I don't care what you're doing, you need to go on, especially my little man now, he's just joined secondary. So in his planner, we've got, you need A, B, C, D. Check it the night before, because come morning, if you go, Mom, I'm missing this, the look I will give you, yeah. Well, I'm saying a look, you know what I mean.
Right. I understand.
We've got it down to a T. So yeah, with that sorted, I hope. Yeah.
What about you, Shemia?
So, well, I've got 4 children, so I have to be organised whatever I do. A lot of hard work at the moment anyway, but with the pandemic, it's been a lot easier in terms of I can drop them all to school, I can pick them up, my lunch break, and work at home. So yeah, at the moment he's been wanting to be a bit independent. He's got to get 2 buses to school. The weather's been okay, so I've allowed him to do that. But with like the rain and the changing weather, I'm just going to see how it goes. But I'll probably end up dropping him, to be honest, because the weather makes a big difference to the kind of crisis that he does have. So yeah, so I'm trying to let go and let him be independent, but I know that it will probably revert to me dropping him back in the winter time, and then probably summertime allowing him to meet up with his friends. So but in terms of organisation, it's just a must.
Yeah, pretty much. And Angela, do you have anything specifically to add to that?
I will agree with all the previous ladies that my daughter, she doesn't eat in the morning, and that's a bit of a contention.
Interesting that.
Because you want them, you want them to have the energy to move around for the rest of the day, and she's like, no, not eating. So that's been a bit of a struggle. Just have a little this, no, not interested. So that bit is difficult. Yes, like everyone else said, you need to be organised the night before. Make sure your bag has got the correct books in. No one's looking for nothing. No one's struggling and taking longer. Like I said before previously, the school, her secondary school, allowed her to come in late, and anything she missed, I would have to catch up with the teachers, and as I had the emails anyway. So but we always tried to get to school on time. So her secondary school is there is a bus that goes there. Also there is I will drop her by car, which is about 5 minutes. So that's what I would do, and then pick her up from school also. Depending on how she's feeling. It's all down to how she's feeling on the day. Yeah,
it seems to be determined on the weather, their independent, the scale of independence, and also just avoiding any issues, really, just avoiding any issues. Okay, fantastic. Thank you, ladies. We've got a final question just to finish up. You lot have been so fantastic. Final question is, I want you to give out one advice or one key thing for you that you feel is important to communicate with the educational system. So it could be for primary maybe, or it could be for secondary, or it could be for college, either one you can pick. But I want you to share one key thing that you feel is important to communicate. I feel like I could summarize some of them, what we did discuss. One was obviously the care plan, and we always introduced, what was it, the ECP or EFCP, the other educational one.
Yeah, EHCP.
EHCP, so EHCP. So those were the main things that I captured, but I just want each ladies to specifically give one key thing that you would feel is important to communicate to which bracket you feel.
I'll just kick off since I'm speaking already. I would say that we have to think differently about education and understand that our children should be able to be to have times when they can just work from home. So for example, our son is at home, hasn't gone back to school, and we're getting work from the school emailed to us or posted to us, or he joins Google Meets and is a part of the class that way. Our children are vulnerable and at risk because, as we all know, this pandemic has affected people in many different ways, and things are getting worse again. Numbers are increasing again, deaths are increasing again. And because the cases are in the schools, and there are children who I know who also have sickle cell and who are not going to school right now. And I just think that we need to see that there is a different way. It doesn't have to always be a physical presence in the classroom, especially when, if we're looking at the so-called rule of 6, why is it then the classrooms have got 26? So things like that, I think, are important for us all to think about and potentially make a change.
Thank you. Tara, one specific key thing that you find important or want to communicate with your...
I think in your question, the answers that I was going to use is there. Communication is important. It needs to be clear, it needs to be, you know, be precise. It needs to be about, you know, that individual. Again, you know, it's one thing having a care plan, as we've all discussed, having this, having that, but sometimes just speaking, you know, again, it might not be a physical, it might be a physical presence, but the communication needs to be there. And you know, you might get, well, I'm hoping we don't get fed up. If you have to say, you know, 1,000,000 times again, it's important, you know, you have to let this person know about this person, and don't just assume because, you know, they were with teacher A today, they might not be with teacher A tomorrow. So you need to be on top of it and making sure you're reaching out to, you know, whoever needs to know, and, you know, letting them know. Don't let them get fed up with you. They know me, even without me, like, they might not have my number on their screen, but as soon as I speak, they're like, oh, Mrs. Fashola,
I know what's good.
Today? This is it for today. A, B, C, D, is that clear? Yeah, okay, have a good day. That's it.
Fantastic. Angela?
I feel that it's been covered. The communication is essential, but I think also making sure you're communicating with your child, because when they come back from school, they are telling you what's happening, making sure that, you know, the environment is open for them to be able to speak, because I found sometimes my daughter didn't always communicate things, she might keep it in a bit. So not only you having that communication with the school, you're then also having communication with your child. So they're going to tell you, this is what happened at school, this is what happened, blah, blah, blah. And then you then have to go back to the school and say, this is how it should be done. These people are not following the care plan, etc., etc. So I think communication both with the school and your child, so you know what's happening and you know how to resolve it in the end. So yeah, communication.
And Betty, how about you? What's your key thing?
I'm just thinking my key thing would be training, having a sickle cell nurse going to the school and train the whole staff. I was thinking like how they she just trained the people who are in contact with my daughter, but actually just like autism and special education needs, like they need to be training to all the staff in the school, because it's an invisible condition, people just kind of, you know, don't see it as these little things could lead to a bigger thing. So I think training is really important. Like schools need to be having the nurse in to train them about the sickle cell condition and how it's not the same for every child and what to look out for, you know, and really highlight the extreme end of it, of strokes, of organ failure. Like these things need to be brought to the forefront so that when us parents are communicating, look, they can't do PE or they can't go outside without a coat, or they need to sit in class with their coat. It's not because we're being funny parents, because these knock-on effect is really serious. You see what I'm trying to say? So yeah, they need the nurse in to train all the staff within schools. Me.
Fantastic. And Shemia, last but not least, could you please share with us one key thing you feel that is you want to tell, one key thing about communicating with teachers or anything?
So I think, as someone else said, the communication, but also to allow my son to be free with communicating with other teachers and things. So I don't want the communication just to be between me and the teacher because of what my son, but I also want him to feel like he has a voice and to speak, and to be able to speak and they listen and act, rather than it has to come all the way home for you to then speak on behalf of your child. because before he started school, we had a meeting. It was a couple of teachers and me and him, and they allowed him to speak and express himself, and I thought that was pretty good because he does know how to express himself. I want to teach him that he should be able to be heard at his age. So if he's telling them something's going on, it doesn't need to come from me and his mother after he's already told me. He should be able to say to them what's happening so that they can then communicate to me as quickly as they need to, so I can then act if I need to go and get him or whatever, rather than him saying, like, somebody's not listening to me, I've said this. Because we know that with sickle cell, it's not always visible, whatever they're going through. So although, like, my son, when he's nervous, he might smile. And you think, well, if you're in pain, why are you smiling? But I know it's with him, it's a coping mechanism, something that he does to mask it rather than it him crying or anything like that. So, you know, it's for them to know them, understand them, but also listen to them as well.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, ladies, for this moment, this conversation. It's been really, really powerful. And what we are going to do is we are going to call it a close now. But again, thank you so much for your time, everybody, and thank you for joining us at tonight's panel. Thank you. Have a good evening.
Thank you, Vanessa. Thanks, everybody.
Bye.
Enjoy your evening.
You too, hon. Take care.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.